For the benefit of the public attending today or watching on the live stream, I'm Councillor Richard Crabb, Chair of this committee. My Vice Chair is Councillor David Taylor. The meeting is being live streamed and will be available to view on the Council website after the meeting. By attending this meeting, you consent to being filmed. Can I remind everyone that when you are speaking, please speak directly into the microphones so that you can be clearly heard and seen. Please could I remind members about discussing applications with one another during any adjournments. The Planning Committee is not a public meeting, but a meeting to which the public is invited. All attendees must comply with the ruling of the Chair. They must not interrupt the meeting or cause undue disturbance. To support this, please switch off your mobile phones or select silent mode for the duration of the meeting. And those using Teams, please ensure microphones are on mute and that your device volume is set to 0 to maintain audio quality. Only those who have registered to speak in accordance with the speaking protocol will be invited to address the committee for a maximum of 3 minutes. No material is to be circulated to members of the committee. We have 2 planning applications to determine today. The first is for the repair of a road bridge owned by Dorset Council near Rampisham. The second is for a reserved matters application at Sturminster Newton. For each application, the case officer will be invited to present their report and recommendations. Next, I will invite members of the public who have registered to speak to address the committee in the following order. Public against, public support, the applicant or agent, town or parish council, ward members. Each speaker has 3 minutes. Please come to the small table at the front when I call your name. Sit down at the chair so that you are close to the microphone. Turn on the microphone by pressing the right-hand side button and press again to turn it off when finished. Please speak clearly. I'll give you a heads up when you have 30 seconds left of your 3 minutes. Following public speaking, the planning officers will have the opportunity to address any salient points they wish to clarify, and committee members will be given the opportunity to ask questions of the planning officers before moving on to debate. When we go into councillor questions and debate, for the benefit of the public watching, can the members state their name and ward when addressing the meeting, always directing comments via the chair? At the end of the debate, I will take the vote by a show of hands. The voting detail will be recorded in the minutes if 3 or more members make the necessary request. Okay, now I will start the agenda. Apologies. We received one apology from Councillor Sherry Jasperson. Declarations of pecuniary interests or other conflict of interest, bias or predetermination. Should something come up in the meeting that you think you should declare, then please let me know straight away. The minutes of the last meeting. Please can we show, by your show of hands, approve of the minutes of the last meeting held on Tuesday, the 22nd of April. So we're all in favour, okay. We'll take that as approval. I will sign that after the meeting. Public participation. Members of the public wishing to speak to the committee on a planning application should notify the Democratic Services Officer no later than 2 clear days before the meeting. The deadline for this meeting was Thursday, the 22nd of May at 8:30 a.m. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak now before the applications are heard or when your applications come up. Okay, so you'll have those when the applications come. Okay, now move on to the planning applications. Today we have two planning applications to consider, as I mentioned previously. It's a very rough guide. I think that the first application will take around 30 minutes to decide. The remaining one may be up to an hour, possibly more. Our democratic officers today are John Miles and Megan Rochester, and being supported by Hannah Smith for planning and Lara Altry for legal. Enrico De Marino is not here today from Highways, but hopefully we will be able to have questions if required. Okay, so let's move on to the applications. First one is P/LBC/2025/01068. It's Benville Bridge, Benville Lane, Corscombe, Ramsham, Dorset. Is Catherine presenting that? No? Thank you. Go ahead, please, Catherine.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. This listed building consent application has been brought to the planning committee. The structure to which the application relates is owned by Dorset Council. The application site sits in Benville Lane, Corscombe, highlighted in red on the site location plans. The bridge is a grade 2 listed structure, so there it is, grade 2 listed bridge. Benville Bridge in Corscombe, Dorset, is a grade 2 listed structure recognised for its architectural and historic significance. Built in the early 19th century, this single-span brick-arch bridge features distinct brick parapet walls with stone coping. Its heritage value lies in its well-preserved design and the historical iron plat warning against damage, reflecting the legal and social context of the time. The bridge is a testament to the engineering and craftsmanship of the period, contributing to the local and historic landscape. That's the bridge and plaque. Following the Dorset Council's regular regime of inspections, it's been identified that brickwork, cracks and repointing are in need of repair and restoration. The submitted design and access statement gives details of the current condition and justification for proposed works. You can see here, it's not overly clear, I'm afraid, but you can see here where the bricks are spooling in the top picture. And a lot of the damage has actually been caused by cement-based pointing in the bricks, which is causing the bricks to spool as opposed to pointing, and this is just an overall general shot of it. The proposal seeks to carry out works to repair, repoint and stitch cracks on the parapets and the bridge, and all these details are submitted within the application and will condition to be obviously with. Okay, so to conclude, bridge is in need of careful conservation, maintenance and repair, and it's considered that the proposed works would see little change to the existing character and appearance of the bridge, and therefore not be detrimental to the special architectural and historic interests of the listed building. There will be some degree of harm, given the repairs are going to be modern repairs and the stitching will be using Helipix bars. But this level of harm is considered less than substantial, and public benefits of restoring and conserving this bridge for future generations outweighs this slight harm. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Members of the committee, do you have any questions? Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor David Taylor, Chelmsford St Mary, and Vice Chair of this panel today. Just a couple of questions regarding the pointing. It states in there that we're going to be using lime cement, is that correct?
Definitely not cement, lime mortar.
Lime mortar, okay, thank you. Because I was trying to clarify that on that one there.
Okay, Councillor Fry.
Councillor Taylor.
Is that okay?
No.
Yeah.
And finally, the question which I'm looking at the either ends of the bridge, is there actually warnings of the edge of the walls? Because the fact that cars coming down, is there something to actually help them guide through, especially at night? because I was just wondering about the safety of the fact the cars, because there seems to be a short wall either end on the action. I noticed that several bridges indoors, it does have it now. I'm just wondering if we're looking at this one as well.
Not that I'm aware of, to be
Okay.
honest with you.
It's just a measure of thinking about the safety of the people.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is there's lots of bridges in Dorset.
Yeah.
Ones that are like this, and I don't think it's a particularly busy road, so I think there's probably ones that have got more, highway issues than this one, for example, the Western.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Councillor Fry.
Thank you, Chair. This is Councillor Lesley, Dorchester West. This is clearly a bridge that needs maintenance, needs looking after for future generations. Let's not mess around with it. I propose that we accept the recommendation and grant the
Second.
do the work.
Happy to second.
Okay. Councillor Fry makes a proposal to accept this recommendation, and Councillor Taylor to second it. So given that, please could we go to the vote? So all of those in favour of the recommendation? That is unanimous. So therefore the recommendation is approved by the committee for this application. P/LBC/2025/01068 Denville Bridge Rampersham. That has been approved by the committee for the recommendation. Okay, thank you for that. Now we go on to the next application. This application is P/REB/2024/07321. It's a land at Glue Hill, Sturminster Newton. Alex, and she's ready. She's just coming over. Just wait for Alex to get things ready. Okay, Alex, once you're ready.
Thank you, Chair. So this application is brought to committee due to concerns raised by Sturminster Newton Town Council. The original outline permission was granted in 2022, and that was for 48 dwellings on the site, and it also established details of access. Matters for consideration under this application include layout, scale, appearance, and landscape only. So just start with a little bit of context in relation to the application and the site. The site is outlined in yellow on the screen. It comprises 2 fields, approximately 7 hectares in area, located on the southwestern edge of Sturminster Newton between Rolls Mill and Glue Hill to the east. So the next slide shows you the various constraints in the area. The application site itself is outlined in red on the screen. The site's located outside but adjoining the settlement boundary, which is shown by the black line on the screen, and that's on the eastern side of the site running along here. The land identified by the yellow star to the northeast of the site has extant planning permission for 8 dwellings. That's referenced in the officer report. There is a public footpath that crosses the site that runs northwest to southeast. That's shown by the pink line here, going from the A357 through to Hillcrest Close. And the conservation area is approximately 60 metres to the east. That's shown by the blue dotted area, and there are various listed buildings in that area as well. So the submitted location plan is next on the screen. So you see the site, it forms part of Newton. The A357 runs on the northern edge of the site. There's a number of residential properties directly opposite, just shown here, including the courtyard development of Newton Gate, which is just in here, with Rolls Mill Industrial Park set behind these and to the west here. Residential development of Barton Close in here, and Hillcrest Close here lie to the east of the site, with Blue Hill beyond here. So at the time of the outline planning permission, as well as securing matters of principle for residential development on the site, it also secured details of access. And the access is in this northeast corner here, egressing onto the A357. Also, through the outline permission, a heights parameter plan was agreed and secured. And this is the heights of the houses. The site itself rises up by approximately 10 metres from the level of the A357 to the north, rising to the south. So its sort of highest land is at the southern portion. So as part of this parameters plan, what was secured is the blue area on the southern portion here. That was secured just to be single-storey dwellings. And the northern portion, which is the pink area here, was allowed up to 2-storey. And this was in view of that rising topography, which meant that the southern portion of the site was more prominent, particularly in views from the west, and in view of the edge of settlement location of the site. So details of access, again, just to emphasise, this has been secured. So the access, as I say, is in the northeast corner of the site frontage, leading onto the A357. And the above plan shows the layout and position of the access. It's to be 5 metres wide, 2 metre wide footways to either side, with the eastern footway linking to the existing footway to the east of the site. And this provides a continuous pedestrian link into the wider settlement of Sturminster Newton. Visibility displays are 120 metres in either direction, which is proportionate and what goes above the sort of speeds for the road. Through the outline planning permission, the Section 106 agreement secured various obligations and contributions. So as part of the scheme, 40% of the housing on site will be affordable, of a 70-30% split, 70% in favour of affordable rent, 30% to be shared ownership. This is fully compliant with our affordable housing policies, and as I say, to be provided on site. In addition, on site is to be a local area of play. The contributions secured will also go towards a range of local and council-wide facilities, from allotment provision, leisure facilities, primary care services, library services, and improvements to local public rights of way. So the next slide shows the proposed site layout plan. I've included the colour version because it's easier to see rather than the black and white one. So it's not dissimilar in terms of the road layout that's shown at outline as an indicative plan. The proposal includes the landscape buffer along the west side of the site, which is 10 metres deep, and also along the southeast side as well. There's an area of open space to the front, allowing some breathing space between the A357 and the built form, and in lieu of the transition as well, to allow for that transition from countryside coming into the town. An additional area of open space is just down here. There's the public right of way, which will be accommodated through the site. That will run still from the northwest corner, from the A357 through to Hillcrest Close in the southeast corner. This is the proposed planting plan. Very difficult to make out, but I couldn't improve it, I'm afraid. But there is a very robust planting scheme. It includes retaining all of the hedgerows, with the exception of the hedgerow running through the middle of the site, which delineates the 2 existing fields. The trees along the frontage will be retained as well, and all existing trees within those retained hedgerows will be retained as well. And then, as I say, there's a very robust level of planting, tree planting to go into the landscape buffer along the west side, along the southeast, and within the areas of open space, with additional trees proposed along the roadsides as well within the estate itself. So the scheme, as I say, will provide 40% affordable housing, the layout is as shown on the screen here, and this has been agreed by our housing enabling officer. So the buff coloured ones are the affordable rent, so that's 13 units, and the purple coloured ones, which are 6 units, to be shared ownership. The mix, there's going to be a mixed palette of materials. So that will include brick flint, brick, painted brick, render, tiles and slate. These are all reflective of what's in the existing local material palette within the local area. And that's shown on this screen, on this plan here. And then some street scenes for you. So the one at the bottom, we start with that. This is the one at the northern end of the site where it faces onto the larger area of public open space. So these houses, again, taken from a local vernacular, using brick and flint, and then brick houses to either side. And those are the ones that you'll see potentially as you come into the access, first of all. The middle section running through, this shows the rising of the land as you go from north to south. And it shows the transition as well from 2-storey houses going into single-storey as you go further up the site. And that is running north to south through here. And then the top one shows, the top one again shows that transition from bungalows, single-storey to two-storey. Some example house types. So this is plot 1, and that's the first house you'll see as you come in by the vehicle access. And that's to be brick and slate roof, again taking the form and features from that local character, local vernacular. Plots 36 to 38. These are the ones that again look onto that public open space at the northern end of the site. These are some of the larger 4-bed units, and they're to be brick and flint. So a couple of the smaller units, these will be 2 affordable units, semi-detached, and they're 2-bed examples. Again, to be brick. And then examples of some of the bungalows on the site. So this is an example of the detached ones, plots 10, 13, 18, 19 and 25. It's a 3-bed unit. And then lastly, an example of semi-detached bungalows. This would be an affordable one, as 2-bed units. So a few street scene views. So this is on the A357, just to the east of the site, looking in the westward direction towards Rolls Mill in the background here. You've got Newton Gate on the right-hand side just here, and then the site is behind this belt of trees here. As part of the scheme, that hedgerow, as I say, will be retained, as will those trees, but there will be some canopy lifting of those trees, so that at the moment they have grown out. But the site, you'll see, does raise up above the road. This is stood to the other side of the site, to the west side, looking eastwards, back towards the conservation area with the industrial estate just in this junction behind me, and the site directly on the opposite side of the road. And then stood in the site, just to again give you an idea of the topography. This is towards the southern end, looking in a northerly direction back towards Rolls Mill, and that's stood in the western paddock. And then stood slightly to the south again. This is on the route of the public right-of-way that runs through the site, looking back into the site in a westerly direction. This is the one taken from the eastern paddock, looking across the eastern paddock, again in a northerly direction, towards the A357 beyond. And then just so you've got an idea of why it was considered sensitive at the outline stage with the levels. So you can see the sites, the extent of the sites denoted by this line across here. The field, one of the fields is this one, if you can make it out here, but not the land sitting behind. And that just, you get these fleeting views from certain aspects, from local rights of way, and then obviously from the A357. This is stood closer to with Rolls Mill Industrial on the left-hand side, and the site is set behind, I can control my mouse, sorry, behind this hedgerow here. And then just an idea of the local vernacular. So the houses on the left-hand side of the road in the top picture, they're directly opposite the site. And the site boundary, site is immediately on the opposite side of the road. So it just gives you an idea of the local vernacular. And then looking in the other direction is the industrial estate, and that's the one to the bottom. So before I go any further, there's a couple of updates to give committee. First of all, is condition number 6, which relates to the approved biodiversity plan. So this has been updated, and that needs to be amended with a new date. So that's signed and certified by Dorset Council, dated the 20th of May, 2025. We're also proposing an additional condition to those listed in the officer report. And that is to remove permitted development rights for the single story units, and that's units number 8 through to number 25. And that's because under permitted development at the moment, you can add stories onto houses, you can make roof enlargements and all sorts of things. So through this condition, it's proposed that would remove those permitted development rights, and that's in light of that sensitivity to ensure those houses are retained as single story houses, unless otherwise, they apply for planning permission to change that. So there's some control. So just to round things up, in summary, the current reserved matters application seeks only to agree the outstanding matters of layout, scale, landscaping and appearance. Principal development, as I say, was established through the outline permission, as was details of access. So since the current application was first submitted, the applicant has worked with officers and positively responded to concerns raised during the course of the application. The resulting revised details of layout, scale, appearance and landscaping are considered to be acceptable. The overall design layout of the scheme is considered to be good quality to respond to local vernacular. The scheme has a low density, it's 18.5 houses per hectare is what it equates to, which again responds positively to this edge of settlement location. The scheme is supported by a robust landscaping scheme, which is considered to provide a proportionate and welcome level of mitigation, which in time, once matured, will help anchor in the development within the local landscape. All technical matters have been satisfactorily addressed, and therefore, excuse me, and therefore, subject to the conditions outlined in the published report and the amendments shown on the previous slide, the application is brought to committee, recommended for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Okay, so we have 5 speakers. The next 3 people will be speaking in objection to this application. Please could the first person come up? That's Nigel Mason to speak at the table over there. You have 3 minutes, and I'll give you a warning at 30 seconds when your time is coming up. Thank you.
Before I start, may I just introduce myself?
Go ahead.
So my name is Nigel Mason. I'm a resident of tiny hamlet of Newton, which actually is geographically very separate from Stearns to Newton. And with respect to Mr. Chair, I will take a little bit longer than 3 minutes because I have a...
I'm sorry, we can only keep to 3 minutes. That's the rules we have to keep to.
Prevents me from speaking for more than 3 minutes?
No, those are the rules. We have to keep them to that. That's simply the way it works.
But I have a lot to cover because, as you may well be aware, I have made representations to Dorset Council on a number of occasions about some very important matters to which Dorset Council have yet to reply. A lot of members of the public here would be aware of various concerns that we've raised in the past. I have actually specifically written to members of Dorset Council, the Planning Committee, the Town Planning, the Council Planning Department, and they have basically declined to reply to any of my questions. Okay, so I just want that on the record. Okay, we still, I'm going to start now. Firstly, let me make it very clear that I do not hold any animosity towards the applicants, despite how these applications affect us personally. I can see that AJC have adjusted their plans based on lots of feedback, but it's still not satisfactory for a lot of reasons. This is all about the principles involved, the rule of law, the lack of due process, the lack of transparency, and it's about the portrayal of the people of Newton by the County Council and the Town Council. We still have a major problem, and you should not be surprised by this. If it wasn't for the very controversial and contentious decision on the outline planning application, we would not be here in the first place. There are multiple reasons why the decision to approve the outline planning application can still be challenged, even at this late stage. There is case law precedent in common law to support that view. There were clear breaches of policy and procedure, and many invalid assumptions have been made along the way. There was a clear failure to communicate with and proactively consult with all members of the Newton community. When we consider the failings, these are just some. Both Dorset Council and Sturgis Newton Town Council failed to recognise the scale and the impacts of this application on the tiny hamlet of Newton, and they failed to treat it and their own responsibilities with the degree of gravitas that they deserve. The critical lack of proper, proactive and fully inclusive consultation in the Newton community. There are people who are still not aware of its existence. The unfathomable disregard for the policies and protections.
About 30 seconds.
Sorry?
30 seconds remaining.
I've got a bit more to go, I'm afraid. The unfathomable disregard for the policies and protections for rural villages and communities, including that are integral to the neighbourhood plan. The total lack of Dorset local plan. That's really key, for which the people of Newton should not be suffering the consequences. The significant level of local objections lodged only if the people happen to be aware of it in the first place. The unjust disregard for the people of Sturgis Newton and Newton, many of whom contributed.
Sorry, your time is up.
Produce the neighbourhood plan.
Sorry, your time is up. You need to stop speaking now.
Yeah, to produce the neighbourhood plan. If you, with respect, these are important matters, Mr. Chair.
I do completely understand. They are very important matters, but your time to speak has come to an end. So therefore, you must stop speaking. So you could please go back.
These are really important.
I totally understand that.
The Town Council committee and your employees have declined.
No, you only have 3 minutes to speak. I've allowed you 3 minutes. You've had the right to speak for 3 minutes.
Thank you. The public would like to hear more. You are our public servants. You are not our rulers. With respect, Mr. Chair, you are our public servants.
Just hold on a second. Yeah, I'm really sorry, but your time to speak has come to an end. We have to be consistent with the rules, because if we're not consistent, then it cannot be fair to other people. So it simply has to be.
You get more than 3 minutes to speak.
The only way around that is to have multiple speakers who each can speak for 3 minutes. So I'm very sorry, but your time has come to an end.
And you never let anybody know that this meeting was going on.
If you want,
Nobody was informed this meeting was going on. We had to physically print out forms and post them through people's letterboxes so that they knew. And the forms we did have didn't have a time on because you didn't want anybody to turn up.
I don't believe that's the case at all.
Mr. Chair.
It isn't. Who here had a letter put through their own letterbox because they weren't informed of the meeting?
The meeting.
It's clear.
Adjourned.
I'll just ask people to.
I think what we need to do here is to calm down, calm the whole thing down, okay? And we need to run the meeting as it's meant to be run. And I would like to call the next person, Joe Lewis, to speak. You have had your 3 minutes.
This is
We have to follow the due process. Otherwise, it's not a fair process. We do have to follow due process.
Fine. Okay.
Thank you for your contribution.
Mr. Miles, what I said and what I was going to say.
Joe Lewis.
And
Sorry, we can't take
and
any.
their notices,
No.
I'm serving you notices of intention to take this to judicial review.
Yeah.
Okay. Please could Joe Lewis go to the table and speak? Thank you. Go ahead when you're ready. I'll give you 30 seconds heads up when you're up to the 30 seconds left from the 3 minutes.
Press your microphone.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, the microphone is on.
Probably don't need it anyway. My name is Jo Lewis. I live in Blue Hill, and I should start by saying I've got a lot of empathy, respect for your situation. 38-year career in local government, education rather than planning. But I've been where you are, so I know how difficult it is to have all the competing pressures and demands. But all I can ask of you, from my experience, is be fair, be transparent, and listen to what people have to say. I've got three main points to make. My first one is about the local plan, and to say, as a former local government officer, how dismayed, ashamed, embarrassed I am on your behalf that you're not even planning to have your local plan complete until May 2027. That's despicable, and it leaves you vulnerable to these planning applications from multi-million-pound developers. You're vulnerable. The door is wide open, and of course you can't stop them. Of course you've made your own life difficult. So I want to just ask that you will please take action after this meeting, outside the meeting, to hasten progress on your work on the local plan. It shouldn't be May 2027. It'd be bad enough if it was May 2026, but please consider that. My second point is about the validity of the original outline consent decision that Mr. Mason was referring to just now. It was not transparent. The public comments were denied. Those of us who discovered that it was even a proposal began to speak to each other, and we were watching the websites to find the date of the meeting, only to discover
30 seconds left.
Only to discover that it was going to be, that it was made, the decision had been made as an officer's decision. That officer did not speak to us, did not listen to us. So again, my ask to you is that you revisit that original decision, make it a proper democratic decision. And my third one, but thank you, I hear that some of it has already been addressed, is to ask you to put severe restrictions on
3 minutes are up.
and the appearance of the houses. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Could I please ask Jan Wardell to come up and speak? You have 3 minutes, and I'll give you a 30 seconds heads up.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman and committee members. My name is Jan Wardell, and I'm the Ramblers Dorset Area Footpath Secretary, and I'm here purely to address the matter of the footpath. The Ramblers works to help everyone to enjoy the pleasures and benefits of walking and to enhance and protect the places where people walk. As walkers, we understand the importance of our environment to the health and well-being of all. DEFRA Circular 1/09 gives advice to local authorities on recording, managing and maintaining, protecting and changing public rights of way. And with reference to section 7, planning permission and public rights of way, states at 7.8, in considering potential revisions to an existing right of way that are necessary to accommodate the planned development, but which are acceptable to the public, any alternative alignment should avoid the use of estate roads for the purpose wherever possible and preference should be given to the use of made-up estate paths through landscaped or open space areas away from vehicular traffic. We're therefore concerned in this instance relating to the diversion of footpath N5346 to see from Appendix 6 of the Transport Statement that the proposed route of the diverted path is predominantly along estate roads, footways. We submit that there is an alternative option which would run north from the access point in the south of the development, then head west between dwelling numbers 23 and 27 to the perimeter green buffer zone shown on the current site layout, then north along that to the access point. This route would entail a very short section of road with only one road crossing instead of two. The senior ranger has also stated that the diverting public right-of-way should not follow the estate footways, but through the perimeter buffer zone. Therefore, we would welcome the opportunity to discuss this further. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next two people, sorry, the next person is Alex Bullock, the agent, who would like to come up and speak.
Members, first, thank you for the opportunity to address you this morning. My name is Alex Bullock and I'm an associate partner at LVA Planning, and I'm the planning agent for this reserve matters application submitted by AJC Group and the landowner. The applicant and the house builders for this site are a Dorset-based SME and one of the region's leading house builders who aim to deliver lasting change in the region by transforming lives through the high quality nature of the schemes they build and the community that they create. As you'll be aware, the site already benefits from Outbound Planning Permission and that the principal residential development of up to 48 dwellings alongside the position and form of the access has been fixed. Your decision today therefore is therefore on those matters reserved, namely appearance, layout, landscaping and scale only. It provides 40% affordable homes, which equates to 90 units addition within an attractive and well-considered site where affordable housing is tenure lines. We circulated a briefing you sent to you last week, and that combined with a detailed committee report prepared by your officer, with a presentation given, makes clear that there are no material planning considerations which would warrant a refusal. And there is no need to repeat that information. It is clear and supported by all statutory constituencies. I do, however, want to highlight why this application and your decision matters. The affordable housing need across Dorset has increased to 3,219 homes per year. This is over 100% more dwellings than the average number of homes delivered in Dorset every single year since 2001. That's around 1,600 dwellings. These figures are Dorset specific and are people who live in the communities that you represent. In planning, we often have various numbers quoted in reports and by constituencies, but please for a moment think of those numbers as real people like you and me, but unlike you and me, and those that we hear from these committees who don't have a suitable home. Many of you have children who go to school but come home to an unsatisfactory place to stay because they live in overcrowded houses, and people with medical conditions or welfare needs, meaning they need specific help, currently do not have such accommodation. Keep those people in mind and know there are some 5,406 people on the council's housing register. 2,131 of these are adults with children, 1,007 of these have medical and welfare needs, and 920 are living in this county in unsanitary or overcrowded housing and unsatisfactory housing. I'm sure you will agree that such numbers are horrifying. My clients are trying to do their bit by providing at least 40% of dwellings on this site as affordable and are exploring the possibility of boosting this to 100%. My clients do this again and again across Dorset and the region and will help to try and tackle these shocking numbers. They work tirelessly on this application and sought to find solutions wherever possible. The question I leave you with councillors is, will you do your bit? Will you back clear?
30 seconds left.
My clients intend to move forward quickly. Plans to commence groundworks in September 2025. Start to change the lives of some, that long list of vulnerable people in need of a house for their home. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I now please ask Councillor Andrew Donaldson to speak. if you'd like to come up, Andrew. You have 3 minutes.
Not right.
Button on the right-hand side.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, councillors. Apologies first of all for my lack of voice. Too much shouting yesterday, I'm afraid. You will have gathered already the strength of feeling from the local residents regarding this development. We understand their issues and are supportive at least of some of the comments that they have made. I'm not going to go back over any of the comments in writing. There isn't time, and you will see those in front of you anyway. Just pull 2 points, if I may, out of the comments made. I think it's disappointing that the developers feel that they're not going to be able to put the roads in an adoptive state. I would much prefer to see an adoption situation. Secondly, planting of trees. With my tree officer's hat on here, it appears that part of the site, if not all of the site, is in the conservation area. It has been suggested that any tree works, which is concerned, are not protected by TPO. Whether or not they are protected by a TPO, permission will still have to be sought from the council tree officer, or any works that are intended to be undertaken. I would also like to see the council tree officer spoken to with regard to any tree works and any planting of trees in order to avoid damage to buildings and to roads, such as we've seen locally on other sites. Our concerns as well concern traffic management on Main Road. The residents have expressed concerns about the access possibility of light shining into nearby estates. That is rather closing this estate door after the horse is bolted.
30 seconds.
As much as permission has already been granted, the applicants might have to consider changing of access in future application. We're concerned about the lack of continuous footpath on the southern side of the A357, and we would like to see some sort of bollard at the bottom of Blue Hill in order to avoid the high speed of traffic.
Okay, 13 minutes, 30. Your 3 minutes are up. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. We're going to go around the committee for questions now. I'd like to ask Councillor Carl Jones to speak.
Thank you, Chair. Carl Jones, Stonminster Newton, for my sins today. Could we just have a look at the footpath situation? Are we able to reroute this? Because it seems a very sensible ask, and I just want to know if we can actually do that. That's my first one.
Yes. Would you like to do that?
Thank you, Chair. So what's being asked here is to agree the layout of the development itself. In terms of public rights of way, they fall under different legislation to planning legislation. So what the developer will have to do is to go to our rights of way team to apply for any diversion, and they will agree that route. So at the moment, through that transport statement or assessment, that is shown following through the form of schemes of the estate road. There is the landscape buffer, potentially it could go through there. That's in the gift of the rights of way team to agree what that exact route is. So there are those options, but that's not being determined
No, but
today
could
through
we
this
make it a
reserve master.
recommendation that that be considered? Are we able to put that in as a recommendation for consideration through the rights of way team and?
Well, what we can do is, should it be approved today, we could put an informative on to
Yeah.
encourage consideration of such a route.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And my next one, on the landscaping, could we put a condition on that, that any trees planted will be maintained for a minimum period of 5 years? Is that all right?
I forget which number of condition is the landscaping scheme, but at the end of the report of the various conditions, one of which secures the landscaping with all the planting, and in it actually it secures it for a minimum of 10 years.
Oh, even better, thank you.
Yes.
And I'm assuming we've got EV charging points in there. That's a given, isn't it? That's a given.
Yes, that's a given through building regs these days, which is why it has been part of the planning.
Fine. Okay, I'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vitali.
Where is it? Thank you, Chair. Can I just say I agree with the suggestion, even if it's only indicative regarding the rights of way. I think that was a very sensible suggestion from Mrs. Wardle. Can I just ask and interrogate a little more about the status of the roads, the point raised by the town councillor? What is under this reserve matters application? What would the status of the roads be? And can you offer just a little bit more granularity on why we came to that position?
Okay, so it's understood that it won't be up for adoption, and that's completely in the gift of the developer or any developer for that matter. So, and that's not to say that the layout isn't to an acceptable layout in terms of safety and accessibility. It's just that in terms of adoptability, then they're not going to go down that route. So that's their choice. There could be issues with that as well. Obviously, that it is quite rigorous to get level of adoption. But in terms of whether we could force them to do that, the answer is no. As I say, it is within the developer's gift to choose whether they go down that route or not. But there are safeguards still to ensure that even if it's not adopted, that it will be built out to an acceptable quality, both structurally and layout wise.
Thank you, that's helpful. I raise it because, of course, in Stourbridge you've had problems with developments with non-adopted roads. I was pleased to hear that the developer wants to move forward quickly, but are there conditions, you mentioned safeguards, are there conditions within the planning permission itself that would ensure the timely delivery and completion of the roads on the estate?
So the majority of the highway conditions, they fall because access is agreed, and then nearly always we put on for agreement of estate roads and all those sorts of details, and that's from drainage through to detailed layout. So those conditions were all put on the outline permission, which still stands.
Okay. Thank you, that's all.
Okay, Councillor Hothacray.
Thank you, Chairman. Val Fothacray, Gillingham Ward. Two of my questions have been answered, so that's good, isn't it? I would like to support the consideration for the footway alteration. I think that's very sensible. And Mrs. Wardle is quite an expert and very well respected for her opinion. I would like to support her view on this, if that's at all possible. And the road, would it be normal if the road is not adopted that the residents would have to pay for any road improvements over the years, potholes, things like that? Could anybody answer that question, please?
Thank you, Chair. That's correct. Normally it would go into the management company if the road isn't offered for adoption. As Alex has explained, we unfortunately can't insist that roads are offered for adoption. We couldn't condition that, unfortunately. It's obviously much better when they are maintained publicly for the residents. But what we do have to ensure is that it's a safe layout, and it's a layout that the majority of it could be offered for adoption if that was the intention of the developer, apart from the private courtyard areas. And highways have looked at this layout and raised no objections and think that it's satisfactory in terms of its road widths, level of parking and such like. So it has been looked at. Just because it's not adopted, it's looked at in exactly the same way as it would be if it was being offered for adoption. There isn't a difference there. It's just that we can't compel the developer to offer it, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. So I think the answer is yes, isn't it? That they would have to contribute to a management
It would be,
company.
yes, it would normally be.
That's all right then, as long as we're clear on this, that anyone purchasing one of those homes will have that liability. What else did I want to say? I'm concerned about painted brick. Could anybody clarify exactly what painted brick means? Is it what it says on the tin, or is it something more attractive?
Sure. Yes, it is brick that's painted, so it's to provide some variety within the scheme, and it is found in the historic town centres. You can get painted brick, and it provides a little bit of a different material from a sort of a render that might look more modern. So it's just an alternative material. And I was having a look at the Sturnes Newton neighbourhood plan, and it does detail materials that could be acceptable in there, and the vast majority, it's not an exclusive list, so it's sort of ones that may be acceptable. It's policy 1 of the, let me just find it. So it's policy 1, design and character of buildings in their setting. It's just the development should be high quality and use sympathetic materials. And it says that, find it, materials should be good quality with a view to have long-term durability and reflect the local vernacular. Materials that are likely to be acceptable but are not limited to are flint, local brick, local stone, high quality timber, partial cladding on some elevations, thatch using local Dorset techniques, material stone or slate tiling. So I think the majority of those materials is quite broad. What's in there? Painted brick is not there, but it is something you do find in historic towns, and it can work fairly well. I think there's some developments in Sturnes that do have it, some modern ones, and it just provides that variety that you can see there that Alex has shown on the material palette.
Thank you. Through you, Chairman. I'm probably swaying over to opinion here. I just wanted to say that 48 dwellings doesn't come under major applications. I very much like the low density, the mix of single and 2-story is really thoughtful, I believe. I just think it's actually a very nice application, to be honest with you. So on the back of that, I shall pass along. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Sorry.
Councillor Cooper.
Yeah. The footpath on the A Street by 7. Could you show us a bit more the extent of that? Because you know, that's a busy road, and I just wondered. And they talk about a bus stop. As well.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, I haven't got pictures of the paved footway, but there is a continuous footway coming out of the access of the site in this northeast corner. So the scheme itself will deliver a short stretch of pavement, and that will link into the existing footway that goes all along the south side, as far as the traffic lights for when you get to the turn off to go into the main part of Sturnes Newton.
So the footway will continue and join up with the existing footway.
Correct.
Footpath then.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor David Taylor, Chancellor Mary, panel Vice Chair. I need some legal cover on this really, because I want to know where we're going with this, because the fact is the footpath that's concerned me linking up from the north to the south. Now, subject to the application, see where we go with this today, how is the access being kept open for when the development, if it was to go ahead? And B, if there's going to be an adjustment to the pavement to go around the circuit, it has to go for a new application. The pathway has to go for an application. So therefore, this moves a problem for me. The fact is, like, if the pathway is shut, which it would be, then therefore, where's the access? Because they have a right of way. That's my question. I'm not, it's just a legal thing. It's in my head and saying, not too sure about this. So on that one there, can somebody kind of open up on that one first? And I've got a couple of others. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that
Thank
question.
you, Chair. Thank you for the question. Yes, as Alex explained, footpaths are covered by separate legislation, so
Yeah.
you can't just close a footpath,
That's right.
regardless of any permission that's granted. You can't close it without a temporary order to divert the footpath for a temporary period. So you often see it may follow a slightly different route temporarily, and then it will go back. It will have to be obviously modified because the development requires you can't build it out without having a modification to it. But in a situation where development's impacting on a footpath, you couldn't just close it. So there would have to be a route for people to still use it. It wouldn't just be closed off. But that doesn't fall under the same legislation as we're looking at today. It'd have to be dealt with by the developer through the footpaths legislation. So we wouldn't be granting any sort of closure of the footpath here today or any diversion of it. That has to be done separately to this decision here. So the comments that the speaker made would have to be considered at that time in terms of the best route for that footpath to take. And people can be involved in that process too, similar to a planning application, but not the same. It's completely different legislation,
absolutely.
obviously.
Yeah.
But it's not. We're not deciding that here today in terms of the footpath. So you don't need to worry in that respect.
Can I come back on that again, Hannah? Do you mind?
Yes, go
Thank you,
ahead.
Chair. The thing is that we have to determine the fact is that if there is going to be a way round or a way forward, so people can still access the pathways, does that have to be stated before development starts? That's the question, because I want to know if you can't shut it, you have to do something about it, you have to deviate it or revert it.
It's the sequence of events.
Absolutely. So therefore, I want to know where this stands in stack against the fact like the development, the pathway comes first, and then there's other things which I'll talk about in a bit. It's the pathway I'm very unsure about. We've always had a diversion application in pathways before anything else goes forward. We've done this before on several applications. Thank you, Chair.
They would need to address the footpath issue before they start obstructing or changing the footpath, but it's separate legislation and we can't insist on that before we consider the planning application that's before us, the reserve matters application.
Right.
So yeah, it wouldn't be a reason to not decide the reserve matters, but we do have to be happy with the layout here, because the layout is what we're considering it through part of the reserve matters. So the footpath diversion isn't, but the layout that's shown on the plans is, and where the buildings are, the roads and such like, but not the direct route of the footpath that needs to be modified and applied for separately.
So can I come back again on this issue?
Yes.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I'm digging in this a legal way because I want to know exactly where we are on this.
ahead.
The fact is that we look at the diversion, it's a pre-plan or pre-app or something to go forward. You said the right words. Sorry, Hannah, you said the right words. What was the word you used?
So it's covered by separate legislation. So it has to be that if the development proceeded without diverting or addressing the footpath, it would breach of the footpath legislation.
Right. That's
So
what I'm
the
going.
controls are there in that legislation, but not through this reserve matters. We can't change the footpath route or consider that in terms of where it has to go and condition that, because it's dealt with through separate legislation.
Okay. And can I come back
have to be, like I said, happy with the layout that's proposed, because that's what we're considering: the appearance of the buildings, the landscaping, and the layout today. And the access point has already been agreed.
Hence the layout, because I want to come back to, because if this pathway still goes through the estate, you've got car issues and stuff like that, and therefore at the moment there are no cars. So therefore it's the fact of the safety of the pedestrians or the walkers or the highway. So it's got to be an area. Can we look at that for actually, because we have to look at that for improvement for safety. And that's got to be a condition, I would have thought.
From the point of view of footpaths,
absolutely,
road traffic.
Absolutely. And that's where I want to see that this is conditioned in. So we look at the fact about the safety of the walker as priority, because it is the pathway over the land.
Okay, we'll take that comment on board.
And I've got two more.
You've got two more, so go ahead.
Okay. Second one is the trees TPO order, which the council was saying concerns the council there. Thank you very much. I was going to bring that on. Yeah, the wooding is there, not enough. Things that the hedgerows there are old, they're at least 300 or 400 years old. And the thing is that it's got to be a safety. I'm always quite jumpy about hedgerows, because the fact is, like, it means you're destroying something that's been there for hundreds of years and is a fabric of the town and the county of Dorset. So therefore I would look at the protection order to say you're putting it in a gateway there. Is it protected as you're moving the foliage, which we talked about before? And is it going to be improved by more trees going in? Because I can't hear that. All I hear is what is there and what the planting arrangement is, but I don't know what it is. And TPOs, will we accessing the TPO order on all the trees there to make sure that they are not hurt after 5 years, as Councillor Jones just said. So therefore, I'm looking at protection really on that one there. That's my second one. Thank you.
Okay, do you have any answers on that, Hannah and Alex?
Just wrote down road safety order. So in terms of safety of walkers through the
Fabulous, yeah.
site. So whilst it's unlikely this is going to be adopted from what our understanding in terms of the estate roads, road safety audit stage 1 was carried out nonetheless at the request of our highway team, and that has gone under their noses and they're quite happy with that. So the layout in terms of not just vehicle movements, but in terms of pedestrian movements as well, anyone, whether they're using the right of way or whether they're using the estate generally, that has passed muster and that is acceptable. So from that point of view, you know, it's gone through due rigour to assess that. So that has signed to be acceptable, looking doubtful. But
can I come in on that particular one then? Who did it go through? You said it's the road safety team have gone through it. Have they gone with the residents? Have they gone with the Sturmston Council? Who have they gone through?
Well, assessed by our highway team, who are
Highway team.
professional qualified experts.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just one again. I'm establishing where this is going because I want to know exactly. Everybody's been talking about this. I'm not on there. And finally, can I have one final question? Thank you, Chair. Finally, the fact is I'm glad you've seen it put in the reduction of heights regarding the bungalows going up. We looked at the flooding, the waterways, and this that the to say whether or not it was a safe estate in case there was rain coming down. But the final question, I think, confirm, is it the A357? Yeah, yeah. That is a pretty fast road. And the thing is that it's also an access point. We did look at it quite carefully to see the access was quite good. We actually get onto the estate and off the estate on that one there. But my concern was A, speed, B, water. Now we know we've had problems with that road for many years where the water's come down, and various residents have raised in complaints today to say in fact they're worried about the flooding coming down from the estate across the road into their properties and land. That's what we said. We looked at the alleviation drains, and there is a lot of drainage put in to alleviate the problems. But I would like to make sure that this does not in any way hurt the developments across the road or any of the properties, because we've had this before, and it's just because that road is renowned for it. So therefore,
what you don't want to see is an exasperation.
Absolutely. So therefore, I want to make sure that there's condition that road is deemed safe for the residents opposite and also in the town as well.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Taylor. Do we have any more questions on the application? Councillor Rideout.
Councillor Belinda Rideout, representing Gillingham Ward. Thank you, Chairman. I totally agree with Councillor Jones' proposal for an informative reference to footpath. I think looking at this plan, it makes perfect sense. I've got a few niggles about this application with reference to reflecting the local vernacular. I noticed no stone as a material. And the painted brick has brought up the Council Apothecary. Oh, I've seen this going into Wilton on new build. It does not look right. Okay on a old-fashioned cottage, but not on new build. And I noticed there's some two-story 28 plots, 28, 29, 30, plots 43. They're all going to be in this, I assume, white painted. I might be wrong, but if you could just check. Because how visible are they going to be in the landscape is what I would like to know. And also, absence of chimneys, that might be my personal preference, not everyone's, but I like to see a bit of character. Because Sturmston Newton's an old market town, it's full of character. Let's put some real good character into this application, please. And also the colour of the render. If you could just, what is the colour of the painted bricks and the colour of the render, please? Thank you.
So are you suggesting that the colour of the render of some of the properties ought to be changed to make it fit in the local town? Sorry,
Chairman, if we know the proposed colour, I think there's some prominent buildings there that I think it needs to probably be toned down a
Going
bit.
down.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, or shall we move on to another question? Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, so one I forgot, Chair. Thank you very much for allowing me to come back in. Dark skies. That's the one I wanted to really hit on, because the fact we've got the lighting on the estate,
Yes.
and it's been commenting quite a lot about the fact that dark skies in the area. It is an area of conservation and things that, are we looking at this lighting system that, if it goes ahead, is put in, is it going to be in accordance with the law of dark skies? Because I think we're in a very important area there, and that's what I'd like to know. Have we adjusted to all that? I'll take it into consideration. That's what I want to know, because I don't hear it. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Alex.
Right, where shall I begin? Okay, I think we initially had a question on trees. I think it got a little bit befuddled in my head now, quite exactly what you asked for. But as
TPO.
I say, it would be, if we wanted to TPO any of the existing trees, to be honest, we would have proposed that at outline stage to safeguarded those trees. They have to be obviously of an acceptable quality, that it has to go through a process and have that amenity value to them for us to want and be able to put those TPAs on. So as I say, there is a robust planting scheme. Quite often it's limited to just 5 years in terms of safeguarding that planting going in once it's been put in. On this occasion, I've upped that to 10 years. There is, in terms of during the construction phase, there is a condition outline. I think it's also one that's reserved on this application as well, for tree protection for the duration of construction, to ensure that those trees that are being retained are protected during that construction phase. So root protection areas, etc., are safeguarded.
Thank you.
So everything that's proportionate and should safeguard those trees that are being retained, that we do want to see retained, is being put in place. And then going forwards, even beyond that 10-year period, there will still be a maintenance scheme to then look after those landscaped areas. So again, the likelihood then of trees being possibly damaged or lost or whatever it is minimised. So that's that question. Hopefully,
10-year cover. Brilliant.
Assurance on that.
Thank you.
There's a question raised on flooding, in particular, directly towards to do with the access. If I go back to the layout plan. So, and I think your concern relates to Newton Gate opposite.
That's right.
Yeah. So that access, in terms of flooding, obviously that has been carefully looked at by our lead local flood authority. That's in terms of runoff for the whole site. Obviously, the site does slope from south to north, so it goes down towards the A357. So in terms of all the information to inform the proposed drainage strategy, the lead local flood authority has considered that and found that to be acceptable for this stage, to demonstrate that an adequate scheme, an acceptable scheme, can be put in place. There are conditions on the outline permission to ensure that further detail comes forward, just for the finite detail of that drainage strategy. So that will be delivered and is agreed on. In terms of the access specific itself, so that also falls under the sort of controls of the Highway Authority, because obviously there's a new access going in. It will need a Section 278 agreement, so that sits under the Highway Act, not planning. And drainage will also come into that. So the Highway Authority will not wish to see surface water streaming down from that access into the road either, which is obviously sensitive to surface water flooding. So, you've got two authorities, if you like, safeguarding, looking at the drainage in that area. You were also concerned about
Can I come back on that? Can I? Sorry, Chair. The thing is that you've identified, and you've actually stated quite clearly, there's a 10-metre drop on this land. That is quite high. For the things in the road systems of saying of the estate itself, would it cope with the fact of the volume before it's spilled out into the main junction? That's my concern, because I think there's a vast area of tarmac there, and gardens, and people's driveways, and roofs, and it's all coming down onto the system. So we need to be thoroughly making sure that with the height of this development, that it is protected for the residents opposite the driveway and the town. So that's where I really honing down is because it's quite a height. Thank you.
The drainage strategy, it's designed to ensure that runoff, it's improving, not making worse
Yeah,
the current
yeah.
situation. Okay, so the design of that has to take that into account. And that has, as I say, been passed by the Local Flood Authority. So this scheme shouldn't exacerbate or increase. If anything, it should be designed to improve that situation.
That's the language I want to hear. That is actually the fact that the safeguarding, which I'm on about more than anything, of the residents is actually been taken the top order, basically. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
The lights.
Any more questions
Lights.
regarding the application? Councillor Jones.
No, so I'm waiting for the answer on the colour of the brick paint and whatever, please.
And dark skies.
You had the access with the lighting, I think.
Lighting and dark skies, yeah.
Well, in terms of the access itself and lights from cars, I mean, the access has been determined, that's fixed, and that can't be changed. That would have been considered at the time of the outline, is all I can say to that. But the access and its position can't be changed at this point in time, so that is fixed. Lighting for the scheme generally and dark skies. So there is a condition on the outline, which Hannah's kindly got on the screen before me. So condition number 15. And so a lighting strategy is to be provided and to be agreed on. So that will be submitted post permission and before they start development on the site or occupation, before the lighting goes in, so that we can then consider, because there's issues, not just us guys, but also biodiversity, ensuring that ecology is respected, particularly back to light sensitive. I would also point to the layout, because of the landscape buffers we've got in place here with this particular layout. That all helps as well for any street lighting that does have to go in to help with that buffer in terms of, you know, how that sits alongside existing development there and any additional intrusion from lighting within the local landscape. So, you know, as far as possible, that will be mitigated.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I give a final on that one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So in surmising what you've just stated and said to us all today, there's a lot of ifs. I'm just wondering where the buts are going to be. And the thing is that's where I'm thinking this seems to me quite difficult, because we've not got the whole picture. We've only got some of it, and I know it's preliminary. We're doing the application, this, that, and the other, but there's lots of questions, and I can thinking, you know, there's lots of things that have to be sorted out before it goes even much further. So where are we? And on a legal side, where are we?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm purely doing planning law. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to provide some reassurance that these are things have not been left. That the drainage was looked at the outline stage. Just because it's in two parts, outline and reserve matters, doesn't mean that it hasn't been looked at initially. So matters of principle were looked at the outline stage. So drainage was looked at by our lead local flood authority, our specialist engineers, and they were satisfied with the principles. They were satisfied enough to put a pre-commencement planning condition on the outline condition, which requires details of the surface water management, the detailed surface water management, and there's a condition on maintenance. So that's still there. You know, we're not considering that today because this is the reserve matters looking at the layout, appearance, and the landscaping. So we don't need to worry. It seems like we're parking it, but we're not. That has been considered, but it's not a consideration for the reserve matters.
It's a comfort. It's a comfort.
It should be, because yes, it has been looked at, and further details to discharge those planning conditions will need to be submitted to us. And again, our lead local flood authority would look at those details to make sure they're satisfied, because absolutely we want to ensure and completely understand the residents' concerns that the development is safe for its lifetime and doesn't make flooding worse elsewhere. And that's what the FLRA will be looking at when they consider those details.
That is absolutely fantastic, because it covers the ground. It's just the grounds to see where we are, and the legal side of it.
Absolutely.
We're on it. Thank you, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions before we move on to debate?
Chair, could I just answer the painted brick?
Yes. Yeah, painted brick question.
Thank you.
Okay.
I do completely understand the concerns about how painted brick can look, but just going back to the neighbourhood plan policy that talks about the use of local materials, there is a prevalence of painted brick in Newton. So this is the closest historic area to the site. A large amount of the dwellings do use painted brick. Obviously, they are older, and I understand the concerns about how that translates to a modern dwelling. But I do consider that any kind of sort of reason around that being making the scheme unacceptable would be difficult, because the neighbourhood plan policy says materials should reflect the local area, and it is very prevalent. I just looked on the street scheme. There's a large amount of local distinct historic buildings in the locality that do have painted brick on them. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So go back to any other questions on the committee? Councillor Fry.
Please, could I just have a word? I know I was going to ask to speak.
I'm sorry, but the members of the public, as part of this process, don't have the right to have questions. So I'm really sorry. This is for the committee itself to debate. So I'm sorry, you need to sit down. So sorry if you cannot ask questions at this point in the process.
Nobody has said anything about the content of this.
Can you please sit down? We need to consider this as a committee. This is the way that the process works. The process has to be consistent, and it has to be discussed and debated through the committee. Members of the public are invited to the committee. Councillor Apothecary.
I suggest that we adjourn while you talk to the members of the public that don't want to do and comply.
Okay, thank you. I will adjourn for 5 minutes, which means we'll be back discussing at 11:27. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Mine next.
It's your tried and trusted friend.
Okay, thank you for your patience, everyone. I've now just asked Laura to say a few words. If you would like to go ahead, please, Laura.
Thank you, sir.
Use the mic.
Thank you. I'm a solicitor with the council. And just to reiterate, as the chair said at the start of this meeting, this is a meeting held in public and not a public meeting, and the public must not interrupt the meeting. Members of the public are given the opportunity to make representations and register to speak at the committee, 3 for the application and 3 against the application. Each person can speak for up to 3 minutes. And to confirm as well, the meeting was appropriately advertised in accordance with the proper process.
Okay, thank you for that. I think we can now resume. Finally, do we have any more questions with regard to the application, or are we ready to move to the debate? Okay, then. We shall now move to the debate. Does anyone have any points? Councillor Pothegary, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. I've already had quite a lot to say about this, and I would just like to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation and approve this application. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Vitali.
Thank you, Chair. I just thank the solicitor for setting out the purpose of this meeting. And much as this is a debate between us as committee members, I thought I'd just engage with some of the comments made, not least because, you know, our residents are the people that vote for us, want to know that we're listening to them. And I can assure them that we do. I represent a ward of small villages which are taking hundreds of homes in the next 5-10 years. So I speak to residents about this daily. I know that Mr. Mason was frustrated by the procedure and the fact that he was limited to 3 minutes. I'd just say that those procedures are absolutely crucial to the integrity of this process. As a sort of counterexample, imagine if we had a situation where someone in favour of the development came and decided they were going to speak for 10 minutes. They would rightly be extremely annoyed that the process had kind of been diverted. So it's really important that those procedures are followed. It's also important for the robustness of our decisions made here as a committee and that they stand up. Mrs. Lewis raised the local plan. I couldn't agree with her more. I think it's shambolic we haven't got an up-to-date local plan. It's something that a lot of us have spoken about, and we're going to be working really hard to get that done as quickly as possible. But that is the principal means by which people that live in Dorset get to control and direct and shape the development in their local area, in addition to the neighbourhood plan. There are a lot of issues raised with the principle of the development at this site. And there was an allusion by Mr. Mason to the fact that there are some common law precedents for returning to the principle of development. But be that as it may, the responsibility of this body is to consider the details and the reserved matters of this application. We don't have an interest in the principle of development. That's been agreed some 4 years ago. I wasn't on committee at that point. Our job today is to look at the details and to work out whether they're in conformity with planning policy. It's really important that as members we recognise that responsibility, because again, it's crucial for the integrity of the process. The agent said a number of things that I'm sympathetic to. I want to support local businesses in Dorset. I'm a young person. I want to get on the housing ladder. I think delivering new affordable housing is really important. But fundamentally, none of that matters. And actually, he said at the start, we're here to consider the details of this planning application in terms of design and so on. On that basis, I think that there is good grounds to approve this application. I think they've taken material steps to improve it. I'm pleased to see that there's efforts to kind of graduate the density as it shifts into rural land. Again, people might be disappointed about the fact that this is outside the settlement boundaries and its green space, but that was considered before at a different stage, and that is not our concern today. I would like to see an indicative remark made in the decision regarding the right-of-way. I think every loss of a public right-of-way is a loss to the community, both those who live here now, but also the people who will move to this area and hopefully buy these homes or rent them. So even if it is indicative, I'd like to see that stated. And I recognise too some of the concerns about the appearance of some of the buildings. I think they're legitimate concerns, but as members of the committee, what we have to do is balance that out with the rest of the things that we're considering today. And on those grounds, I think the balance of evidence suggests that we should approve this as a committee. So I'm very happy to second Councillor Apothecary's proposal. I know that that will disappoint a number of members of the public here today, but believe you me, we have to make decisions about difficult decisions about planning applications all the time, with the national housing targets going up and what the implications for that in Dorset. We're going to have to make lots and lots of these difficult decisions, not just in the north, but across the county. And I return to Mrs. Lewis's point. It's absolutely essential that we get a local plan together as quickly as possible so that we can shape that development. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vitale. So some of those, Councillor Taylor, please go ahead.
Thanks for clarification about everything we've just been talking about over the last 15 minutes. 20 actually. The thing is that it's nice to actually feel, to me as a councillor and vice chair of this panel, the fact is that the feelings and thoughts have been aired, shall we say, about the fact things that have not been stated but have actually been put in right by legal and in planning officers as well. So we've been there, we've looked into this and we've seen it, we've established the facts, safeguarded the routes, which is what we're saying about the access pathways, roads, lighting, etc., etc. So I'm pleased that the fact that we've actually opened this up for discussion, debate, and go forward with this. It's uncomfortable, but it's a sound application. So
Okay,
I will
thank you,
therefore be
Councillor
supporting.
Taylor.
Thank you.
Councillor Fry.
So I don't want to intrude on the debate.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we have a proposer, Councillor Apothecary, and a seconder, Councillor Vitale, to go ahead with this recommendation. So please, could people, just hold on a second.
Subject to the conditions. Condition 6 and the additional.
Okay, subject to two conditions.
Yeah.
Condition 6.
Updated BP.
Which is updated.
Sorry, it's on the screen.
It's on the screen here. Updated condition 6, which is to do with the biodiversity plan, and also an additional condition to remove permitted rights for single-storey units to prevent them from adding on additional stories. So those two conditions are being added.
And the informative note on the footpath.
And also with regard to the footpaths and rights of way. Is that all of it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you
Very
very much.
pleased to propose those included in the
That's
proposal to approve. I particularly like the removal of permitted development rights. I wish it would happen a bit more often, actually,
Absolutely.
but it's so appropriate for this development. Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Councillor Apothecary. So I think now then we can go to the vote on this recommendation. All those in favour of it? Eight in favour. Any against? No. So that is carried unanimously. The recommendation has been approved, subject to those additional conditions. So this application, P/RES/2024/07321, land at Glue Hill, Sturminster Newton, has been approved by this committee for the recommendations to be followed with those amended conditions. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, for that. So now we move on to the next part of the meeting.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I'll just wait for members of the public to leave. Yeah. No, I don't think there are any. I'll just wait for people to leave.
That's right, thank you.
Yeah,
Good luck.
you behaved as if you were.
It's a committee, that's what we're doing for. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any exempt business?
No urgent items.
Okay, also there are no urgent items. So I can therefore